No, I'm really excited because I didn't have my daughter until I think I was 42.
I love
So,
that.
Oh, awesome.
so it was, she was 8. So I would have been about 50 when I just started over. So I'm loving that, I'm well on the other side of midlife, but I can fully support everyone who says it's a mess. How did I get here from, I started out in my 20s so wide-eyed and filled with wonder. How did I get to this place where things are no longer working? And now what can I do? Do I need to give up? Do I need to just say, this is going to be my life? Better learn how to grin and bear it? Or is there actually some positive steps that I can take that will result in my empowerment, my transformation, my life feeling good again?
Yeah.
And then can I model that behavior for my children?
Mm,
Amen. I
I
love
love.
that.
And maybe we can just even start there because I think that that is really honestly one of the messages that we really truly try and share with our audience, which is I we always say that we all have these personas that we carry throughout our lives. You're the soccer mom, you're the PTO president, we all have our things that we do with our children and our spouses and our employers, and we fill all these roles and wear all these hats. But oftentimes when we come into this place in space in midlife, to your point, it stops working, or what we
Hmm.
were doing is no longer a part of our lives or even serving us. So, maybe we're divorced and the spouse is not there anymore and we've lost that persona. Maybe our kids are grown and gone and now we've lost that persona. And so I think what it comes down to is that we feel a bit lost
Yeah.
in life. And so what we're really trying to do with this whole podcast is impart to our listener, how do we get beyond that? How do we find ourselves again? How do we go from feeling stuck to unstuck, for example? And so I think that's really kind of what we're hoping to seek from you, the wisdom that you can share with us. And we really do like to leave our listener with some, tactical and practical things that they themselves can do and based on your own beautiful, authentic experiences. So that's
Yes.
where we
Sounds
love to.
great.
All right.
And then I will want to jump into this clairaudient piece
Oh, I
and understanding what that is and how that works and how we can tap into that space because I'm the wooshy wooshy girl and love to make those types of connections.
it's the
The
most fun in the world.
Yeah,
It
I can only imagine.
Oh, your angels are your best friends. They're
Ugh.
fun. They are so funny. They are not in this physical reality dealing with the heavy stuff. So they just want to
Mm.
have a good time. But they see the big picture so they can say, whoa, what are you doing? That
Yes.
road that you're on is leading to the edge of a cliff. Do you want to go there? And there have been times when I've said, yes, I need to experience falling off the cliff because I'm so frigging stubborn that this is
Yeah.
what I want. And you know
Yes,
what?
I'm wired that same way. I'm needing my angels to kick in right now for me and like I've got to have a good heart to heart conversation with them. So figuring out here to how to hear them and connect with them is my challenge. And that's what
Okay.
I need help with.
And we can do that. Here's the most wonderful thing about them, though, is, so I'm saying, okay, we're clearly headed for a crash. There is no good ending to this direction that I have chosen for myself.
Right.
They don't come in,
With their fingers wagging at you.
they come in, okay, we want to show you that you're heading in a disaster direction. If you are still feeling that you need to pursue this, we will go with you and try to help you mitigate the damage along the way. It is so
We'll be the cleanup
freeing.
crew.
It is so freeing to be released from the judgment and just allowed to explore. But
Yeah.
yet all along the way, you get this little nudge. Hey, if you would just veer more to the right, you could actually stay on the road. Now, there are times when I said, oh no, straight is the way it's got to be,
Right.
and right off the cliff. But it was just, okay, what did you learn? What do you want to keep from this experience? What would have rather have done? What did this give you that you can take away from it?
Yes. And
And I think that's
I think, Shelby, we're just jumping in, right?
I think we've
Here.
just jumped in.
I think we're just jumping in. Um, okay, so not I don't want to make this all about me, but if we could just make it all about me for like 2 minutes, that's all I need is 2 minutes. So I'm in this space in time right now, Dr. Marcia, where I'm going through a shift. I'm going through a transition from what was to what will be. And the what is right now is feeling really unsettling for me because there's a lot of unknown and a lot of anticipation and excitement because I feel the shift being birthed. And sometimes I'm great with shifts and sometimes I'm really bad at them. Sometimes I self-sabotage in the midst of a shift because I'm like, screw that. I'm going back to, what's comfortable and easy for me. I'm not jumping into the water. I don't even know. There might be piranhas in there. It could be filled with acid. I don't know. But then again, the waters could be perfect, right? And right now, I'm really feeling this need to feel guided and I would take it as far as like, could I have someone slip an actual like note under my door that has check boxes that tell me exactly what I should be doing right now? Like that's the kind of guidance that I'm actually looking for. And I know that that is not practical or reality, but you know what? When I knew we were having this conversation today, it just felt guided
Aligned, yeah.
that we are having this conversation today. And I really just could use some support in being able to connect to my angels and get some communication, some two-way I need two-way dialogue with my people.
well, your people are saying, why can't you have it all?
Mm.
And I think that's where my journey began. And actually, I think it was on Facebook. Or no, it was a blog. I wrote a blog. You can have it all. And there was this person, I so annoyed them because they could not handle the fact that I said you could have it all. Now,
Yeah.
what their interpretation is, you can have anything that you desire. Where you need to draw the line is say, what feels good to me? We
Mm-hmm.
spend so much time looking at what's wrong or what's hurting or what needs to be fixed. And if you would just go away from there and say, I'm only going to look at what's right, what's working, and what feels good, you
Mm.
would get that checklist that you're looking for.
Mm.
They don't deal in what's wrong. They want to support you in what's right. So we have to remember that the universe is a very law-abiding space. And so you can all day long wish that the sky was green. It's not going to happen because the elements that are creating this space have come together to create what appears to be blue to us. So if you understand the laws, then you can operate within them. And there is one law that whatever you are not just thinking, and this is where I think people get confused,
Yeah.
whatever you are thinking and then become emotionally attached to is what you are going to generate more of. So we could be thinking, oh, I'm so excited about this new chapter of my life. and we are feeling, I'm so worried, I'm so anxious,
Yes.
this is really, what if I'm doing the wrong thing? What you are going to attract to you in response is not the excitement and the ease of this thing coming to you. Instead, you're going to get confusion. You're going to get road bumps. You're going to make yourself feel like this was the stupidest idea you'd ever come up with. You are going to just keep yourself in that state of condemnation where you are
Mm.
unable to move forward successfully. So all they're asking you instead is get in alignment with what the divine have already decreed. And they have already decreed that whatever you are thinking and then emotionally attached to, the
Mm.
energy that you're generating is what you are going to receive. So as long as you know that, every time you go over into the anxiety corner and
Right.
you can say, oh, wait a minute, I don't have to be here. I have a choice. I can choose to go into my higher, lighter place. I can choose to acknowledge, hey, I'm feeling really anxious. So,
Yes.
time to turn my attention on what is going right. Now, if nothing is going
Mm.
right, you merely pick something that did go right and say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if it happened once, it can happen again. But it's very unusual for everything to be going wrong at the same time.
100%.
It's just that the thing that's going wrong grabs our attention because it's unusual. And
Yes.
so the whole idea is don't go for the unusual, go for the usual. The thing that is normal is what you want to focus on. It is normal for you to feel good, to feel successful, to feel accomplished, to be ready to expand. It's abnormal for you to be in a state of anxiety. The abnormal grabbed your attention, but you get to decide what keeps your attention. So
Oh, I love this.
you
I
get
think
Okay.
to
it's so
you get to
powerful. Yeah.
and you get to say, and here's the difference, because I grew up with a should kind of
Yeah.
training,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and that makes you believe you don't have a choice. You just force, you got to do it this way.
Yes.
For me, that just meant immediate resistance. So the first
Mm.
thing they offered me was choice. Would you like this or would you like that? I
And
was like,
bouncing that up against what feels good
well, I looked at it, I
makes
was
so
like,
much sense.
well, I looked at this, you know, junk that I had created, and I was like,
Yes.
I don't want that. And they were like, so why are you choosing it?
Mm.
oh, oh no. So you are free to choose. You're just not free of the consequences. So while I was choosing turmoil, confusion, um, lack of self esteem, no self confidence, playing small,
Yeah.
being under somebody's thumb, I received all those consequences. And it was not a nice life.
Yeah.
When I understood, I wasn't being forced, but I was giving myself permission to choose to feel good. I began getting the consequences of feeling good. And that
Mm.
automatically enabled me to grow with much greater ease than any time in the past. I was so self-deprecating that, I could have climbed Mount Kilimanjaro,
Hmm.
got to the top in an hour, and have said to myself, well, of course you had to do that. There was no, oh, I'm proud of you. It was always,
Wow.
well, yeah, so get
Hmm.
going. What did you,
Hmm.
minutes are ticking by. What have you accomplished now? It was, nothing was enough because I didn't love, honor, and respect myself. It was always who around me has decided I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Oh, Steve and Sarah don't like me. Oh, I'm horrible. We've got to stop giving permission to those outside of ourselves and return it within. If
That's so good.
Steve and Sarah don't like me, I'm sorry, but I'm me. You go find somebody you do like, I'll find someone I like.
I love that. This is such, look, as we say in the Black church, this is a good word, Dr. Marcia. That's a good word right
This is
there.
hard learned, baby. Woo!
I think
Man,
it
this
is
is on
beautiful, but
time.
I also want to say this. To me, it feels a bit idyllic. And because Trinity, she's my woo-woo girl. And I'm like, let's just talk about this like in real time here. Because to me, yes, I totally see your perspective. We are given choices every day. And we, can look at one choice and think that one choice is better than the other choice. But right now in our current situation, we're facing two choices, and the choices are stay in your day job. And, it is a lot of work and a lot of energy and a lot of time that we put into that. But in some respects, I would say that it is a choice, but it also feels in some respects that it's not a choice, because we're both single mothers, for example, and we have to feed our children and pay for college and pay for schooling and, groceries and all of those types of things. And so what seemingly theoretically could be a choice doesn't really always feel like it is, in fact, actually a choice. So I'm curious to know, how do you reconcile that when you've got this beautiful choice over here, and that's what you really feel like you need to surrender to and give into, but the reality is sitting on the other side in that choice. So how do we reconcile that in
She's
our
just
own?
trying to keep me from going to go join the circus right now. Let's be clear.
Go join the circus, girl.
Well, I love
full support. I'm just trying to decide if I'm going to go with you or not.
I love that. So what you have to do is do as much as you can do without putting yourself into the high anxiety column. So if you were to quit your job right now and you don't have the resources in order to feed your family, you are just rocketing yourself into the high anxiety column. And truly, was that your best choice? It may have been too idealized. So what you say instead is, what can I do with what I have that will get me closer to where I want to go? And then you begin doing what you can. Perhaps you can cut down on your hours. Perhaps you can reorganize your work life a little bit so you're not giving up everything. You don't want to, first time in the pool, go off the 10-foot diving board. It's unrealistic. So you set yourself easily reachable goals that will give you a sense of accomplishment and also let you test the waters along the way. Because what if you don't like this new plan? So, what can you do that's going to give you more freedom, keep the same amount of income or more coming in, and yet still feels as though you're giving yourself permission to become more? So begin there. I give myself permission to explore all that I can be, because sometimes we stay in the job or the marriage or the situation because we don't understand that we could be more. We may be having the conversation with ourselves that says, this is all I am. So change the conversation. I am so much more. I'm excited to see all that I am. Let me start seeing that. Let me begin there. Who am I? How do I feel about this? How do I feel about that? What can I do that will push me beyond where I am? Or let's change that wording. They're giving me a high sign on the bad word. Let's give yourself an opportunity to feel what it would feel like to be bigger, but minimize the risk. So I'm going to do more podcasts, or I may hire somebody who can tell us how to make this podcast more marketable. Something like that may be a limited financial risk, but have a huge reward.
Yeah. And I think an easy place to start, Shelby, and we talk about this, but we get paid for 40 hours a week, and yet we consistently give 60 to 80 hours a week. There's
Yeah.
opportunity there
What
to
if you
pull
actually
back.
did that 40 hours a week? Now, here's something that I've noticed has happened. When I said to myself, okay, I am not going to be available to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even though I work for myself. I said,
Yeah.
it's gotten out of control.
Yeah.
I am a runaway train. when, when I said to myself, we're going to have a hard start and a hard stop. And then if we want to go beyond that, we have to give ourselves permission. I actually became more efficient. I worked out better systems and better ways for myself to get more done. And I cut out some of the noise that I didn't even realize I was allowing to take my attention. And so I became more productive and could cut down on some of that unnecessary dragging of the day that made me feel like I couldn't do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I love that idea. And I think, in today's modern society, a lot of us are working from home, including Trinity and myself. And so, I think it is easy to allow ourselves to broach that personal time with work time and allow those two things to bleed together. So I love this idea of giving ourselves permission, because that feels like a healthy way to keep a boundary or make a conscientious choice to exceed that boundary. And I think that's about maintaining that healthy relationship to ourselves. And I know this
Yeah.
is a topic on which you really like to focus. And so I guess my question is, why do we allow our relationships with ourselves to be broken? Or what is it that has created this space where we have this broken relationship with ourselves? And then how do we rebuild that relationship and create a more healthy relationship with ourselves?
That is so brilliant. But first, they're reminding me of a technique they gave me, which is so simple and was so effective that I want to share it with everyone.
Please, yes.
And it is, I could have done more. So they say, go in, do your best work. Before you are exhausted, you quit while you could still do more. I was like, but I won't get everything done. I always have an argument. Like, I know better. I won't get everything done. They said, just try it. Just go in, concentrate while you are capable of concentrating on whatever it is. When you start feeling like, I should do more, or I could do more, you quit. Okay, this is all I'm going to do on this for the moment. Then you take a break, or if you have energy, you just put your mind on something else that needs to be done and do that while you're still enthusiastic about the project. And you just work it until you're starting to feel that fatigue, and then time to quit. It has made me much more effective because I'm not dragging myself to reread the email that I'm sending. I send an inspirational email. Do we need 120 rereads to make sure that this is correct? Or can we just do it, leave it, and then come back hours later when I'm fresh, can look at it with a new eye and catch whether it really reads the way I think it does or it's a disaster. It is just, we tend to beat ourselves up, and I think we're taught that as women. And so this is a good way to stop that societal, familial, cultural pattern. You need to overextend yourself in order to prove your value. And so going back to your question, I really believe it stems from childhood. We are now, with this new generation, in my children, I am seeing a different approach. But certainly in my generation, and probably in your generation, you were taught that you need to give more. And
Yeah.
especially as the female in the relationship, give more, be available, be the nurturer, be the caretaker, now be the breadwinner, be be anything and everything.
And you better be good in bed while you're at it.
Right.
Be anything and everything they ask you to be without complaining.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because if you complain, you're just a harpy and nobody will want you, and then you'll be an old maid and blah, 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 blah. So, how do you get it back? You begin within. First of all, you go into the heart space and you just say, I love you.
Mm.
Just close your eyes, concentrate on this connection right here in the middle of your chest. I love you. And I will even, there is a technique called Ho'oponopono.
Mm.
And I don't love the way that it's commercially packaged because the angels gave me a way that I feel, especially for people, and most women have at least some of this, people who are empathic, deeply sensitive, taking on the concerns and the cares of others.
Yes.
So the angels taught me to say, I'm sorry, and then state why you are sorry to yourself. What did you allow you to do that caused you to run off the rails, to take on more than you should, to feel heartbroken, or whatever you are experiencing? I'm sorry, and name the condition
Ooh.
for you, not to X or to
Yes.
parents or to who boss or who. I guarantee you're already giving them more than they ever probably even asked for,
Right.
but you're not remembering to give to you. So I'm sorry, and state the condition. Please forgive me. Now, this is not a time to beat yourself up. So I might say, please forgive me for not understanding what I was doing when I asked this of you. You are looking to be in partnership with yourself instead of loggerheads. We
Mm.
are taught as women, just ignore anything that any
Yeah.
of your needs, anything that you need to feel good or be acknowledged or supported. Ugh, shove that over there. And
Yeah.
then we end up very resentful and at loggerheads with our needs. So this is you re-acknowledging, I do have needs and I am worthy of receiving them. So I'm sorry, state the problem. Please forgive me, state why you probably did whatever it is. And then thank you. Thank yourself for putting up with all of the nonsense, even
Mm.
though you didn't know better. Wow, thank you for hanging in there with me. And I love you.
Mm.
Yes.
Acknowledge you. Now, the commercial version of Ho'oponopono is you apologize to others. You know
Yeah.
what? I am so sick of apologizing to others. If I have hurt your feelings, I will be happy to apologize, but I'm taking care of
Yes.
what's going on in here to make sure that I am not putting myself in a position where I'm not being fed or loved or nurtured or honored because I'm too busy honoring you.
Yeah. And I'm certainly no longer apologizing for my existence not measuring up to you and your
Yeah,
standards anymore.
heck no.
Yeah.
Who who are you to dictate to me whether I'm acceptable?
Ah,
Mm.
amen.
And let's teach everyone, all of our children and everyone who is around us, that they are accountable for how they show up in the world, and they can't point the finger at us and say, as I was told, you ruined my life. And by
Mm.
the time I got that line, I was like, hmm,
Mm.
Mm.
Wow.
that's interesting. Thanks for sharing. Now I know. It would have devastated stated early me because I would have believed that was true. Now I'm like, well, I got to be accountable for me. So I will take responsibility for the ways in which I didn't honor my obligation to the partnership. You must be responsible for you. If you don't want to be, this is probably the end of our partnership.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that I have this beautiful phraseology, because it's what's really coming to mind is something that I did just recently, which I was, I'm being very hard on myself lately. I just hit 50 on Friday. I just turned 50. So and I'm very conscious that things are changing in my body. And I was working out last week and I just didn't have the energy. And I caught myself after the end of that workout saying, man, you suck. You
Oh,
were no
wow.
good. Like you didn't give it your all. And I caught myself though. And I said to myself, I was like, I'm sorry. What am I saying to myself? I am here. I showed up. I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do this. Why am I being so hard on myself? And I said, you have to forgive yourself. You have to give yourself grace. You showed up, you did your job. If it wasn't as good as you wanted it to be, you didn't put in as much energy or effort as you wanted it to be. You put in what your body was allowing you to do today, and you can show up in a better way tomorrow when you have more energy. And so I know I wasn't using those phraseologies in the best way possible, as beautifully and gracefully as you did, but is that the kind of scenario that you're suggesting we should apologize to ourselves for? Or I just want to make sure that our listener has this, because I really do think that this is an important concept to us
Oh, it's so
really
important.
starting to nurture that self-love within ourselves. Because I think as women, you're right, we are so hard on ourselves. And so
Yeah.
it's about catching ourselves in those situations. I just want to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
Yes, the only thing I would change is don't give yourself a deadline.
Okay.
Mm.
So, you know what? You showed up, you did what you could with what was available. I'm
Mm,
so proud of you. Forget
Mm.
tomorrow because it's putting pressure on you. Take the pressure off. I'm so proud of me. I got up at 5. I showed up for this workout. I did what I could, and I'm giving myself permission to stop when I could have done more. Or
Mm.
so powerful.
this is not what I can do today. That's okay. I am not needing to be super person in order to be acceptable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
truly, it's not that you turned 50, it's that you forgot that there were days when you were 20 and you weren't looking at the age clock. There were days when you were 20 when you couldn't do it either.
Sure. For
And
sure.
You
so
just would grab a beer and keep trucking.
exactly. You would say, yeah, I'll get to it. I'll do it when I feel like doing it. Give yourself permission to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
love
love
the word
that.
permission. You continue to use the word permission. And I just continue to think how little permission we allow ourselves as women. Why
Oh,
do you think? Why don't we give ourselves permission to be, to rest, to be messy, and
Mm.
be imperfect? Why can't we give ourselves permission? It's so hard for us to do.
it's so hardwired into society. And I think, honestly, if we had men here, they would be saying the same thing.
Sure.
Mm.
As a world, I don't believe that we are really honoring ourselves. We're honoring the societal standard that somebody else has set. And then we see a lot of anxiety and depression and overwhelm, and we can't figure out why. And it's because we are not in alignment with this being. We are trying to become what somebody else says we should be. And that's just impossible. The
Yeah.
more time we spend out here being that person, the less this person is getting a voice and being seen and heard and able to contribute. And this is the person you came to be.
Mm-hmm.
This these people, they may not even exist. They could all be bots for all we know. But yet we're all thinking that they know something that we don't.
Yeah.
Just go here. What feels good to your energetic heart space? What feels warm and welcoming? What feels uplifting and empowering? What makes you feel delighted to give to the world? What gift did you come to share? Everybody has one. You don't need to share Susie's. You need to share yours.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I think that's such an important message. And I think that the hard thing is, and I think we may have talked a bit about it earlier, but it does feel sometimes like, I don't know, maybe we hit the space in midlife and we don't know the answers to those questions.
And we
I mean,
feel like we should know.
we feel like we should know what gift do I have to give to the world? I bet you that 50% of the women you ask that have no idea what the answer is.
So
I don't
let's
answer.
make it simple.
Let's make it simple.
I certainly spent the first half of my life saying, I'm clueless, because it had always been presented to me that it had to be difficult, that it
Mm,
had to be something that I would maybe need more education, or I would have to become better
Yeah.
before I could step into this place. And that is completely untrue. And the thing about divine alignment is simplicity and the
Mm.
understanding that you already have everything that you need. So if I were to come in this life and choose to be a paraplegic, it isn't because I am being punished for previous life choices. It's because being in that body is going to give me the experience that I feel will be most meaningful. So
Mm.
I am wanting to examine other ways rather than my physical body in which to explore the environment. So my gift may be my intellect or my deep feeling or my understanding of something that others who had more of the physical senses or physical ability had not tapped into. So your gift or your purpose are the same. It is going to be something you do innately well.
Mm.
It's not going to be, I'm 5'2", basketball is not my gift. It is going to be, you brought all of the pieces that you need with you. It's something that you do well, and you have always done it well, and it is interesting to you. So it's not like you have to remake yourself in order to find this. It is something that you would just do naturally. If you had no schooling or training, you would still sort of go in that direction because you have so much innate talent and ability and understanding of this particular thing. And it makes you feel good to share this thing. It is not work. It is not torture. You don't have to push yourself. It just flows out of you. And the more that you delve into whatever this is for you, the more that you're going to be able to understand it in a way that others don't, the more that you may be able to explain it in a way that others cannot because of
Yeah.
your deep understanding. And the more that you will just overflow with joy because you're getting to do the thing that you chose to do before you planned this life. So you're really just stepping into your you-ness when you are saying yes to your purpose. Society thinks it's some distant, far off star that you have to aspire to, but the game is rigged. It's rigged in your favor. So everything you need, you came with. It's all right here.
Mm.
It's all within. And you just have to commit to going within and discovering who you are. And it can't be, I'm Mary's mother. That's not why
Right.
you came.
Right.
You brought something that is valuable. You're wonderful at being Mary's mother, but you are more.
Yeah. And we give it away. We give that thing away.
And you
And
will continue to give it away when you are in alignment with it because it will flow out from you.
yes.
You cannot keep it in. I'm at the grocery store and I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Where every conversation of people
Yeah.
are like, oh, I've talked to you for 2 hours. I'm like, oh gosh, it happened again. They just
You'd be like, angels, can y'all tap me on the shoulder and tell me to hurry up and
no,
shut up
they're
for a
flowing
minute?
information. They're the troublemakers. They just flow information. And it's so uplifting to me. I am constantly being re-energized, rejuvenated, re whatevered because
Yes.
of their presence flowing through me and the information and the joy of sharing it. So if you feel like your purpose is to scrub toilets and you hate cleaning, you are just following someone else's dream.
Yes.
However,
Yes.
I have met people who love organizing and cleaning and feel so satisfied and fulfilled from doing that work. That is clearly their purpose.
It's not my purpose.
Not my son's purpose either. Let's be clear.
Or mine, kids.
I remember I saw this so vividly. There was a woman who was coming to my parents' house to clean, and I was buying something from her. For some reason, I needed to go to her house. I walked in her house and my jaw dropped. It was so immaculate that I was like, you live here? Real
Wow.
people live in this space?
Right.
And you could see that doing this organizing cleaning was just so hardwired in her, and it made her feel so good that she just never quit. She was like, oh yes, I just
Wow.
love doing this. She would go over and, like dust a thing. It was like,
I need her in my life.
oh gosh. I was like, yeah,
Can you
you
move
move
in?
to my state? Because
Exactly.
Yeah, that's too funny. I think, I think it sounds like we really just have to kind of, I don't know, just really let go. And, because I'm sitting here and I think, about Trinity and me, I think we know what our purpose is. But, I think fear sort of holds us back. Maybe
absolutely.
trauma or some of those old negative narratives
Yes.
that live.
So if your
Absolutely.
angels are giving you any specific messages for us
Well,
on how to
the thing-
push through this,
the
we're
thing
open.
that they want you to know is that you're not going to be an expert, even though you are exceedingly gifted in the area. You're still not going to be an expert. You will need to develop this even further. So I think it was Michael Jordan that said, I can never stop practicing because there's
Yes.
always more skill that I can acquire. However, he certainly came in with more talent than many other people. And, I think he was the one that didn't make his varsity
Right.
basketball team
Basketball.
in high school. So, you will have a natural affinity, but if you are believing that you're going to know how to do it perfectly, then you're setting yourself up for failure. So you
Yeah.
need to be able to say, hey, I do this really well. Let me dig into this and discover even more. Is it practical? Some things are just that you do well are not practical. Your gift, if you are to use it in the world in terms of this is your offering, which then would give you something in return, and it's not a hobby, then it would be something practical that you can apply and expect to return.
Yeah.
What they want you to always remember is that it's give and take, but you must allow the receiving. So we've all been taught give, 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 give. And if you're not continuously giving, what's wrong with you?
Exactly.
And then there's a hard stop on the take. Oh, now you're selfish. Oh, we don't like you. Take away the stop sign. As you give, you must allow yourself to receive. Now, Mother God explains it in a way that was, for me, life-changing. because I was always terrified of being seen as selfish. And
Yeah.
so I would give until you could take the last drop of blood from my body, and I would go rob a blood bank to make sure you had more if you needed it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always in this headspace of, I don't want to be seen as selfish.
Mm.
And in one of my conversations early on in my adventure with her, she said, the problem is you don't understand the difference between selfish and selfless. Yes,
Mm.
you are selfish. I thought, oh God, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
This, there's nothing I can do right. You know, the tears started. I'm like, oh. She said, selfish is when you give from your humanness. You give and give and give until the well runs dry. And
Mm.
by doing that, you create dependency. But when you can no longer give, you and all of your dependents now just,
Perish.
they're out. She said, selfless is when you connect with us and you allow yourself to be filled, and you fill and you fill and you fill until you are overflowing. You stay connected with us and you give from your overflow, because now you will teach everyone how they too can constantly be renewed and give to others.
Mm-mm-mm. That is a very, that's a different approach for me. I love that.
It changed my life. I'm
Man.
not doing enough unless I am bleeding for you
Oh, yeah.
profusely. And if I take time out to even wipe the blood off, I'm
Mhm.
selfish.
Yeah.
Now I say, do I need to be filled? Have I disconnected?
You
Am
come
I,
from wholeness first.
yes, am I overflowing? If I'm overflowing, I'm going to bless everyone. If I'm tired, cranky, whatever, what do I need in order to step back into the place of overflow to be a blessing?
Yeah.
Now I'm receiving, they're receiving, everyone is uplifted. There is no reason to have a sacrificial lamb in the
Mm-hmm.
divine order. That's a societal product.
Yeah.
I love that. And, it's funny. It's right on time. I've kind of intuitively done that over the last couple of days, and I never do that. And I just put up the flag and the wall and I'm done. I'm backing away. I'm taking the day off and the next day off and taking care of me because I'm exhausted in my soul.
And it
And
doesn't have to be, boundaries is a,
that's just not a thing I typically do.
but boundaries is a big word right now. Like,
Yeah.
you're crossing my boundaries.
Yeah.
Again, that's using the negative to try to get a positive. When you're overflowing, you are exuding all this unconditional love and acceptance. So people feel better around you and therefore want to come to you also offering positive. They're not going to be in that confrontational space because you are operating in this high space of love, joy, and peace. You're this
Yes.
peaceful being flowing through, exuding joy, sharing love. They're going to come to you with the same energy. They
Mm.
can't come to you to drain you because you can't be drained anymore. So they may come with that idea, but since you're just overflowing, they're going to be like, oh, what do you have? I want some of that. And it creates a new conversation instead of back off. I have boundaries. It
Yeah.
is fill up, feel good. I'm overflowing.
So maybe you could leave us with some thoughts on how we start to plug in so that we can move from this space of lack to a space where we are overflowing. And I'm sure many of our listeners out there are saying, How do I plug into my angels? How do I make that connection so that I can begin to overflow? Where do we start, Dr. Marcia?
Always start at the heart center. This area right here, we are all connected to the divine. There is no way that you can be separated. This is not a religious thing in any way, shape, or form. The reason that we have life is because we have a connection to the creator. Now, what
Yeah.
you can do is make that connection large or small. If you have lived your life and had the normal amount of trauma and experiences, that connection can get smaller and smaller, and you're seeing yourself as less than and less than. So just spend some time, close your eyes, take a deep breath. And as you breathe, just put all your attention on the energetic heart center and ask nothing from you, from the divine. Just be, and send love. Just send unconditional love to you, to the heart center. You may say something like, I love you. I accept you as you are. Take a deep breath. I am willing to receive. Or one of my favorites is, I give myself permission to receive. In case you have any programming that says you don't deserve, you've just now overridden that. I give myself permission to receive. Take a deep breath and really pull it in. And see how you feel. Does that feel good to you? If giving yourself permission to receive feels good, then that's something you can do throughout the day. You're not asking anything of yourself. You're just giving yourself a moment to be in this space. Now, the work that I do with people is to clear this space of all abuse and trauma, which makes it even easier. But if you just begin here, it will naturally start expanding. And let's remember that there is no one on this planet, there are no exceptions. Everybody has a hardwired connection to the divine. You just have to discover what your connection is. So it can be feeling, it can be hearing, it can be seeing, it can be knowing. There is a connection. And when you spend some quiet time just being in this space, you'll begin to develop this connection, and you'll start seeing things or hearing things, or your attention will get they'll catch your attention in some way. So no one is without support. No one is unworthy of support. No one is denied support, and everyone has a way to communicate.
That's
Thank you.
beautiful, Dr. Marcia. Thank you so much for being here today. And if our listener wanted to tap into more of your wisdom, where could she find you?
I have two websites, which we're going to merge into one, but here I go with my I'm just so excited. We have now become a nonprofit, and someone told me I needed a separate website. Worst advice I've ever gotten. So bear with me. I split personality right now while we are merging. So you can go to Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer, Heart Healer, or thehearthealingfoundation.org. And we are now offering pay what you can group counseling or private one-on-one counseling. In addition, we have a lot of material on YouTube so that you can really get to understand how to work with these energies. And we have a community, which is sort of a self-study program on how you can work with the spiritual realm.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. We've just, I mean, honestly, the conversation just started and never stopped. So thank you so much for your lovely wisdom. We appreciate you.
It's been an honor. One thing they always remind me is when you heal your heart, you will transform your life. So spend time in this space.
Thank you. Okay, let me just pause the recording here.